Well, hello everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to one more interview, one more episode of DojoLIVE, connecting experts like you. And as ever, I have no. Wait a minute. Actually, this is her first time as a co-host, second time around as a co-host. So I gotta definitely welcome my fellow teammate, Mircea, Carmen Icedo. Hi, Carmen. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you here.
Hi, Carlos. Honor is mine. Honor is mine. Finally, again, as a co-host.
Cool. Perfect. Awesome. All right. And so good luck with that. And break a leg. And today we are going to be having a conversation with Mircea Soaica from Romania. Mircea, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you here as well. And Mircea is an experienced full-stack developer with a very long story of working in the software industry. He's going to tell us all about it, about himself and his company in a minute. So, Mircea, how are you today? How are you, Mircea?
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
The pleasure is all ours, Mircea.
So a little bit about myself.
Please.
My background is in tech. I've been a developer. I've wanted to be a programmer, I think, since I was 7 years old, since I've seen a computer for the first time. I've been professionally developing apps for about 12 years now. And I discovered the tech industry about 4 or 5 years ago, the tech travel industry. About 4 or 5 years now, when I was the CTO of Soft32, which is one of the biggest software download portals and advertising networks, one of the biggest in the world, top 5, I think. And when this niche started to decrease in size because of all the things that are happening now in the cloud with software as a service and all of that, we decided to try something else. And we actually, I wanted travel, and we were so naive to think it's easy. And so we started to build a meta search, then an OTA, and obviously we failed them for obvious reasons. We had no idea what we are getting ourselves into. And for the past year, I joined OneFineStay as the head of connectivity. And my responsibility in the company is to make sure that we push the right homes, we synchronize the right homes to all the OTAs, we have the right availability, we have the right rates, and vice versa. Our homeowners who use different systems, we are pretty agnostic when it comes to what our homeowners and partners use. So we want to make sure that on OneFineStay we have the right availability, we have the right rates, and the right content.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mircea. So that was about you and about OneFineStay. And I'd like to ask you next. As you probably know by now, you mentioned that you highlighted the fact that you had certain expectations about travel tech, and then you realize that it's a little bit more complex, right, than you thought. So in that sense, as it's ever-changing and it's so demanding, there's so many things going on out there in the travel tech world. So how would you say, from your standpoint as a software developer, software engineer, how do you go about validating new features and functionalities in relation to the market?
Well, the new features that we need to develop when it comes to connectivity, we actually don't necessarily need to validate in the traditional sense. So we are not developing a business in connectivity. So everything comes with a demand. So we are not building a channel manager, for example. We are not trying new features that our customers might use and might buy. We have, so for those who don't know what OneFineStay is, let me start with that.
Oh yes, please. I kind of missed that part. So please tell us about OneFineStay. Then we can.
OneFineStay is I think the only company that allows exclusive access to people's real homes anywhere in the world, with a layer of service to the guest and the homeowner. So the company is a merger of 3 other companies actually that were bought by were acquired by Accor Hotels last year. I think in the beginning of last year. And those companies are Travel Keys, Square Break, and OneFineStay. So what we do actually is we serve our customers with unique homes in the luxury niche, and we offer them concierge services. And for our homeowners, we offer the service of greeting the customers, cleaning the homes, making sure that when they get their home back, they find it in the same condition they gave it to us. So we don't just rent homes like an Airbnb or HomeAway. We actually have a service on top of that. So when it comes to distribution, like I said, I have 2 roles here: distribution and supply. When it comes to distribution, our features are what the business asks of us. So I don't have to go and validate that my ideas are correct. I have to help the business distribute to as many channels as possible, and I have to help our partners onboard our homes as fast as possible and with minimum friction, basically.
Okay. Who are you customers mainly?
Our customers.
OneFineStay's OneFineStay's customers mainly.
So this is a tricky question actually, because the company is a merger of 3 other companies. There is no right answer. So for the legacy, the old OneFineStay company, I think their business was their customers were business people that were going to London or Paris or New York, and when you have to stay like a month working from Paris, for example, you would like to take your family, you would like to experience the life in Paris the same way you do it back home. On the other hand, for the Travel Keys company, the Travel Keys customers, because Travel Keys was mainly focused on the Caribbean, then our customers were VIPs going on vacation. We had movie writers, rock stars, people having their weddings in Caribbean. So it's there are a lot of people who book our services. But the correct answer is per company, actually. Although we are a merger of 3 companies and we are one single company, it's not one answer. It's still, the markets are still very different.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. Absolutely. Especially you mentioned the merger. It's 3 different things. So I understand that part now. Okay.
Yeah. From a technical perspective, it's our customers are those who can afford it.
Who can afford? Well, essentially, yes, right?
Yeah.
Let's follow the money.
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. Let's specifically, Mircea, about the topic, your chosen topic of today, which is challenges in travel connectivity.
Yes.
And okay. So can you talk to us about why you chose this particular topic? I know that you mentioned that you're going to tell us. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand you're going to be telling us how travel companies are maximizing revenue, right, by increasing distribution while spending less on content maintenance. Why did you choose this particular topic, Mircea?
So this particular topic is very important to me personally. Obviously, it's very important for OneFineStay, for the company, but for me especially, is very important. The first travel company I founded, which we failed. We actually failed because we didn't know how to connect with suppliers, right? We thought it was going to be easy. We thought we can just go to booking.com and say, hey, please give us your properties so we can sell them, right? And they said no, obviously.
Right.
Then we went to the next and the next and the next OTA, and they all said no. That's the first failure, but that has nothing to do necessarily with connectivity. We thought that getting access to an API would just allow us to build a website and allow us to sell accommodation. We were trying to sell hotels, which is a bit different than private rentals. But it was not easy. It's actually extremely hard, because when you want to do to connect to two different suppliers, for example, they have two different business models with two different data models. With everything is so different, and everything that you thought that you knew and you know how to build your website, you realize that that's not true. You have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea how you should build that website or how you should build that connectivity channel and technology. So it's always a continuous learning phase in any tech company, in every travel company, actually, especially travel companies, should always be in a process of learning because of all these changes that happen, right? A few years ago, Airbnb didn't exist. We thought about travel as Expedia and Booking.com. Now you have all these companies coming up with different types of models, and you know.
Okay, you know, as I was listening to you, I'm intrigued by, and this is because I don't have an engineering background, so I like to from your context as an engineer. Well, you mentioned content maintenance. What do you mean by content maintenance? Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yes. So in the niche that we are, so I come from the legacy travel keys company in this merger. So the way we were doing things in travel keys, we had a huge content team that was manually updating homes availabilities, rates, images, and all of that. Very, very important aspect of this business. If you don't have the right content and you don't have the right data, of
course,
you're going to fail. So we thought about it, and we saw an opportunity to increase the reliability of the data by connecting to our suppliers' software solutions, PMSs or channel managers or whatever they had, their in-house tools, and synchronize everything back to us. That's sometimes a huge challenge because of the data mismatch, which is a huge importance when you design a system. And when we actually made it, we actually was able to connect to most of our partners and be able to synchronize most of this content. I'm not going to say all, but most.
Mm-hmm.
You never get all.
Right.
It reduced our costs. And not only our cost, but it actually increases your revenue because you can rely on the data, you can sell more, you can do more advertising. When you have the right data, all gates open in front of you.
Yes, absolutely.
Basically, it becomes a lot easier to do anything you set your mind to do.
Is there you mentioned data? How about analytics? Does analytics play some kind of role?
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you mentioned this. So one of my roles recently has been to maintain and build the data warehouse that OneFineStay will be using. So analytics and truly understanding your data and your customers and your supply and your demand and all aspects of the business are extremely important. I cannot express how important that aspect is. If you don't understand your data, you don't understand your business.
Absolutely.
So this is something that's challenging. To understand your data, you need to ask the right questions always.
Absolutely.
You need to know what questions you want to ask. So the data will never answer questions just because you have data. You have to be able to. So this is one of my recent roles as a not data scientist, because I'm not the one actually doing the analytics per se. I'm maintaining and building the data warehouse and making sure we get all the data, since we consider that sort of connectivity.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mircea. I'd like to pause for 1 second, okay? Because Carmen, I think it's time for a chatbot, right?
Yeah, I'm still in the chatbot.
Right. Okay. So
I have still a chatbot.
Can you actually
activate it?
Can you push the button, please, so we can activate it?
Okay, pressing right now.
Okay, here it is.
And it's on.
Okay, guys, if you have any questions for Mircea, please send them right here on Twitter.
High-tech chatbot.
Yes, and it says fully integrated with Twitter, so no one has this technology yet. So we're working on the process of still, improving it. But if you have any questions for Mircea, please send them here on DojoLIVE on Twitter. With that being said, okay, chatbot goes away. Here it goes away. Good.
There we go.
That was
bottom first.
Yeah, that was very demanding.
I actually have a question.
Go ahead,
for Mircea. You were talking about your clients or customers of OneFineStay, because it's people who can afford it, and then I thought, okay, yeah, this business people is gonna be a month or 2 months or maybe a whole year in a big city. So what's the challenge? Maybe some of them business people are well, quite. I'm not gonna say old people, but like not elderly, but yeah, really not a millennial generation. So what's the challenge to be user friendly for everyone?
Well, from a technical perspective, there's no challenge. Usually, when you sell something, it's the sales department's challenge, actually, because they have to be able to sell to millennials or elderly, or the technology usually remains the same. So I'm sorry, I cannot give you a better answer for this. But in tech, at least in this field, because the way we do our business is inquiry based mostly, right? So the customer comes to our website. They see a lot of homes. They see a lot of text about our services and about our guarantees and all of that. So they make an inquiry, and then one of the sales agents takes over. They actually make the sale. Usually, people. The big challenge I see here is actually not between different types of customers, but actually making them trust you to put their credit card down, right? When we talk about large sums of money, people don't just want to pay.
No.
The process of sales is a bit different, right? Nobody buys a Ferrari online.
No, that's true.
So I think that's the biggest challenge. Again, that's a sales challenge. From a technological perspective, we can do a payment gateway integration. That wouldn't be a problem or a challenge.
Yeah, to make it trusty for everyone, to make it a big sale for every generation or every kind of family, maybe with their every taste. Because I'm watching the website and I look at it and I say, okay, but maybe some big business people will say, but how do I trust you? How can I trust something I'm not actually seeing? But that's on sales department.
Yes, that's a huge problem in every niche, not only travel, but travel especially, because there's a lot of fraud happening in the travel industry in general across the globe. Mainly because you take the money now and you offer the service later in 6 months or a year or whenever your customer books. So you can, at any moment, you can live with the money, right? It happened, and people don't just trust, especially in Europe. I don't really know the state of this in the US or across America, but in Europe, it's extremely challenging to gain the customer's trust.
So the biggest challenge will be to be like, to have every kind of review, or every kind of say, hey, yeah, I've used it and it's quite cool.
That's one way. Yeah, that's one way to do it. Either customer reviews, like if you look at Booking.com, and not only Booking, but they are very good at it. They have a very good review system. So whenever you book something on Booking.com, you have loads of reviews to read, and they guarantee you that those customers actually stayed at that hotel. They're not random texts from the internet. So that's how they, for example,
so what's the
increase, yeah, ask me.
So what's the biggest challenge? Hello? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, yeah, we can hear you. I can hear you. So what's the biggest challenge OneFineStay has right now as we speak? Yeah, the thing that makes you wake up with nightmares at night.
Okay, so our biggest challenge is obviously merging the 3 companies. Although it's been, I think, almost a year since we started the actual merge of our technologies and our sales and our marketing and all the aspects of the business, and that can be extremely challenging and can be extremely emotional for many people. And from a technological perspective, the challenge for on merging 3 companies with 3 different business models, in the end, we've basically done the same, but in 3 different ways, is actually understanding the data and making the data follow a single pattern. That's extremely challenging, and even after a year, we still have a lot to do to truly become one company.
That could be actually quite challenging.
Yes, and I think it's gonna probably be one more year. Okay. I hope not. But
I think it will get better. I think it will get better once 3 business models can be understood, fully understood. You can understand how to merge them and how to follow the same pattern, maybe in different ways. But
not in all cases. We don't always want the businesses to follow a single pattern, because it makes no sense. If a business works, we should continue, or we should improving it, not change for the sake of changing. And in every company you have a few directions that work, a few that don't work. We have to identify what doesn't work, why doesn't it work, and what works and why it works, so we can replicate it in a different market or in a different team. Or I think this is actually the challenge. We don't just want to change the business for the sake of changing it, to have a single business. We want to change it because it's smart and because it makes sense to do so.
Thank you, Mircea and Carmen. We're sorry to just step in, but we're about to wrap up today's session, or today's interview. So what I would like to do next, finally, Mircea, if you were to leave our audience with some final words of wisdom about your industry, about your vertical, about travel tech, and about engineering for the world, for the community out there, what would it be?
Well, I think the most important piece of advice which I could give, based on my experience, is don't do any startups before actually understanding what you're getting yourselves into. Not only in travel, but travel especially. I think that's guaranteed to fail. Guaranteed.
Ooh.
Always.
You're gonna raise a lot of ears out there watching. So,
well, I hope so. I hope so, because we made this decision and we've spent millions and we failed.
Well,
we could have just taken a few nice vacations from OneFineStay.
Absolutely. Okay, well, there you have it, folks, from Mircea Soaica himself, from Head of Connectivity at OneFineStay. So, Mircea, the only thing left for me to do is simply, well, send you a big thank you for having been with us today. And of course, what I would like to do next is simply make a quick announcement for actually this week, ladies and gentlemen out there, we have a double whammy week because we have 2 interviews this week. And on Wednesday, we are going to be chatting with Mr. Sunay Tripathi. He is the CTO and Vice President of Product and Engineering at Mobile Edge X in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley. So stay tuned, folks, for a chat with Sunay on Wednesday, 3 p.m. Central, 1 Pacific, right here on DojoLIVE, connecting experts like you. Mircea, thank you so much for
Thank you
today.
for having me. It was
Absolutely.
a pleasure.
No, it's our pleasure as well. And Carmen, thank you so much for having joined us.
Thank you.
We had a blast here. And yes, Carmen?
Finally co-hosting. No more in the shadows.
Yeah. No more in the shadows. There you go. But as ever, we missed you on Twitter. I think you do a great job too. So either way, social media is social media. This is part of it. So thank you, Carmen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mircea.
Thank you. Enjoy your day. Bye.
Bye.